Hello everyone, I'm Ixalan, and it's Wednesday, so that means it's time for another Crack-A-Pack. We're opening some more Ixalan, and we're going to talk about the pack from a limited perspective. This means we'll be talking about every card in the pack, what I think of it in limited at this point, and which card I would first pick. So let's go ahead and get started. Our first card is Fathom Fleet Firebrand. This has been a bit of an overperformer. I mean, I knew it would be solid. It's a 2-mana 2/2. It can pump its power. It's also a pirate. All of those things are nice. It's good stats for an aggro deck. It's good stats for any sort of pirate deck as well. It's just a serviceable 2-drop. One you're pretty happy to take. You don't want to first pick it. You'd have to have a pretty horrendous pack. But picking them up around pick 5, 6, 7 isn't something I'm too sad about. I think it's a very solid card. Next, we have Legion Conquistador. This is an interesting card in that if you only have 1 copy, it's terrible. If you have 2, it's all right. And if you have like 3 or 4, it can be pretty scary, especially if you actually have a vampire thing going on, and having multiple vampires really destroys your opponent. But it's still a 3-mana 2/2, so you definitely don't want to first pick it. And usually, for it to come together, I'm just picking them up really late in packs, and I'm saying, well, if I pick up another 1 or 2, I guess I'll actually run them. But Fathom Fleet Firebrand is definitely what I would take so far. Dire Fleet Hoarder. This is another little 2-drop for the pirate deck that's perfectly fine. I do think the Firebrand's better. This one does help you splash, though, and that is relevant. But in pack 1, pick 1 scenario, I'd rather have Fathom Fleet Firebrand than this 2-mana 2/1 who makes treasure. Okay, I think this 2-drop is actually better than Fathom Fleet Firebrand, and that is Ixalan's Knight. It goes incredibly well into any aggressive deck, and if you have dinosaurs in your deck, it's very frightening. If you play this on turn 2 and the Hammer Skull on turn 3, that does so much damage to your opponent, and that's a pretty common line of play. Those are both commons. I've done it, people have done it to me multiple times, and it's very powerful to do. So it's currently our first pick. Okay, here's an interesting card, and that is One with the Wind. This card is really good, and that's very strange for me to say. I hate auras, usually in limited, but this format has such mediocre removal, and it's so fast that if you just play a 2-drop on turn 2 and put One with the Wind on it on turn 3, you can just win the game. It's a very swingy format in that sense, because your opponent can just be like, well, I kill it, and now you're probably going to lose because you just got 2 for 1. But if they don't kill it, you just win the game. And something I'm struggling personally with in this format is needing to be even more aggressive. I hate playing auras when my opponents have mana up because things can go so wrong, and sometimes I'm sort of on my back foot, and I don't want to play my One with the Wind just yet. So that's something I'm struggling with because I'm just not used to playing auras and being happy about it. In this format, you are. Obviously, if you have Hexproof, the Hexproof Jade Guardian, then One with the Wind is nuts. Right now in this pack, I think I would probably take One with the Wind. That shows you how strong it is. I would take it over Ixalan's Knight. It's a great card. It can just win you games. And the other great thing about it is a lot of the removal in this format does damage or kills creatures of a certain size. And One with the Wind gets them out of range of a lot of that. So it's just a very strong, powerful aura. It does a big stat boost and gives evasiveness. And it's what I would take right now. Next we have Crash the Ramparts, which is just a good trick, or solid trick at least. Playing one of them in a green deck's fine. Definitely don't want to first pick it though. Next we have Paladin of the Bloodstain. This card's perfectly solid. You get decent stats out of it. You get another body with lifelink out of it. All of that's solid. I would still take, I think, both Ixalan's Knight and One with the Wind over it. Next we have Gilded Sentinel, a card that you should only play if your draft went as terrible as humanly possible, I feel like. I guess in a world where you get 4 of the Dire Fleet 2-drop guy who needs artifacts to attack, and 2 or 3 of the black, blue, gold card that gets bigger for artifacts, then maybe playing one of these isn't terrible, but you're not usually going to get 6 cards that care about artifacts in this format. If you do, I guess you can play them. Other than that, you probably don't want to play them. Right, next we have Thrash of Raptors. This pack has mostly been pretty good. The only card so far that it's I definitely don't want to play is Gilded Sentinel. All the rest are things that I've played and been happy about in multiple scenarios, and Thrash of Raptors follows that trend. I was talking about the turn 2 Ixalan's Knight, turn 3 Hammer Skull. This is a pretty gross turn 4 Thrash of Raptors. On top of all of that, it's great in an aggressive deck. It's great even in the more mid-rangey red-green dinosaur decks too. But I would still take One with the Wind and Ixalan's Knight over it. Okay, now we have Crushing Canopy, an excellent sideboard card, but you don't first pick excellent sideboard cards. You basically always want one of these in your sideboard, though, if you're green. All right, first uncommon is Kumena's Speaker. This is a good card, It has overperformed a little, just because Merfolk has ended up being so powerful. This is sort of one of the things you can do, by the way, with One with the Wind. Turn 1, Kumena's Speaker. Turn 2, One with the Wind. I'm attacking you for 4 every turn, so I hope you have an answer. And that's, one of the things that One with the Wind that can do is so disgusting. So I wouldn't first pick Kumena's Speaker over One with the Wind, but you want it in the Merfolk deck usually. And if it's clear you're going to be in a blue-green deck, and especially a Merfolk deck, starting to pick them up earlier in packs 2 and 3 isn't something I would discourage you from doing. Next, we have Dire Fleet Captain, the black, red, gold card, signpost and comment. It's been kind of underwhelming. Black-red pirates in general I think it's just the least good pirate deck. Blue-red, I think blue-red and black-blue are just the better decks, basically. But, this is a good card for the deck. It's a good 2-drop, and it gets bigger when it attacks if you're attacking with other pirates. Still, you don't want to first pick it. It's not the kind of gold card that you first pick. Some of them are, but that's not one of them. Okay, I think we have a new first pick. Our last uncommon is Glorifier of Dusk. This is a card I've been seeing people underrate excessively. I've seen them really late in packs. I've ended up with like 2 of them that wheeled in a draft. I mean, maybe I was the only person in white. I don't know. But this thing is very strong. It's basically Sarah Angel. Yes, you have to pay life. I think part of the reason it's underrated is people are really focusing in on the fact that you have to pay life. But if you're a black-white vampire deck, you're going to be gaining at least a little bit of life. And you don't have to pay the life for anything. It can attack in the air as a 4/4, and it can gain vigilance. It's basically Sarah Angel. I mean, it's a great card. People underrate it. And I understand this format's really fast, so maybe you don't want a 5-drop. This is the kind of 5-drop you do want, though. This is like the one 5-drop you run in your vampire deck because it's that strong. All right, well, now we have a rare that completely blows everything else out of the water, and that is Regisaur Alpha. Insanely strong. One of the best cards you can open in the pack. He gives you 7/7 worth of stats, 3 of which can attack right away and has trample. And then he gives all your other dinosaurs haste too, because why not? He's insane. You should first pick him. You should try to play him, even if it's only off a splash, because he's that strong. But in the interest of discussion, since obviously we want to take the Regisaur Alpha, I think after that I would take Glorifier of Dusk, which is that, vampire we're looking at, and then One with the Wind. In the comments, let me know what you would take after Regisaur Alpha, because obviously you're going to take Regisaur Alpha. So thanks for watching. I'll be back next week with another Cracker Pack.